Title. Can I borrow your shoes for title? Can I borrow your shoes for my graduation? The poor girl asked, unaware he was a CEO millionaire. Rain poured heavily that afternoon, soaking the narrow alley behind street. Mary's college. A young woman, her graduation gown clinging to her body, stood barefoot under a flickering streetlight. Her name was Lila Evans, 22, the daughter of a janitor who had worked his whole life so she could study. The world called her poor, but today, on her graduation day, she had never felt poorer. Her one pair of shoes, the black heels she'd saved for months to buy, had just snapped. And the ceremony was starting in 15 minutes. Tears mixed with rain as she looked down at her bare feet. God, not today, she whispered. From across the street, a tall man in a navy blue suit paused. He was holding an umbrella, his polished shoes reflecting the streetlight. His name was Ryan Cole, 34, CEO of a tech company worth millions. But at that moment, he wasn't a CEO, just a man quietly watching a girl fighting not to break. "Are you okay?" he asked, stepping closer. Lila turned, startled. I'm fine," she said quickly, trying to smile. Her lips trembled. My shoes broke. I need to get to the hall before they start." Ryan looked at her drenched gown, the tassel hanging crookedly, and the barefooted girl clutching a worn folder with trembling hands. Something in her voice, hope buried under exhaustion, struck him deeply. He glanced down at his shoes. "What size are you?" She blinked. "What?" He smiled slightly. "Your shoe size." She hesitated. 6. Without a word, Ryan bent down, slipped off his black leather loafers, and held them out. "They'll be too big," he said, "but they'll get you there." Lila froze. "I can't take those." "Please," he interrupted softly, "you can give them back after your big moment." Her eyes filled with tears. She didn't know this man, yet his kindness cut through the storm like light. She slipped the shoes on. They were heavy, loose, but they fit just enough to run. "Thank you," she said, her voice breaking. "You have no idea how much this means." Ryan smiled faintly. "Go make it worth it." She ran off into the rain, the two large shoes slapping against the pavement. He stood there, watching her disappear toward the glow of the graduation hall, not knowing he'd just stepped into a story that would change both their lives. Inside the grand hall, Lila stood at the back, drenched but beaming. As her name was called, she walked across the stage, each step echoing loudly from the CEO's shoes. She looked out at the crowd, rows of polished families clapping for their children, and found her father, James Evans, wiping tears with his rough hands. When she received her diploma, the audience rose. For her, it wasn't just a certificate, it was proof that struggle could bloom into triumph. Hours later, after the ceremony, she ran back toward the alley to return the shoes, but he was gone. No trace. She left them wrapped in a plastic bag near the spot where they'd met, along with a small handwritten note. "Thank you, kind stranger. Your shoes walked me into my dream." She never expected to see him again. 2 years passed. Life was hard. After graduation, Lila couldn't find a stable job. She worked at a small cafe downtown, saving every penny to pay her father's medical bills. The world seemed unfairly heavy, but she refused to give up. One rainy morning, just like the one years ago, she was delivering coffee orders to a corporate building downtown. The receptionist smiled politely. "You're delivering to the CEO's office, Mr. Cole, top floor." Her heart skipped. Ryan Cole. The name echoed. It couldn't be. When the elevator doors opened, she stepped into a vast office overlooking the city. There he was, the same man, in the same calm posture, though now she realized who he truly was. Ryan looked up from his desk, recognition lighting his eyes. "You," he said, standing. "You're the girl from St. Mary's." Lila froze, embarrassed by her worn uniform and messy hair. I just came to deliver your coffee, sir." He smiled gently. "So you remember me." "I never forgot," she whispered. "Your kindness, it got me through that day." He studied her face for a moment, then glanced at her name tag. "Lila Evans. You graduated top of your class in business, didn't you?" She blinked in surprise. "How do you know that?" "I donated to your college last year." I saw your name on the alumni list. They said you hadn't found a job in your field yet. Her cheeks flushed. I tried, but things didn't work out. I'm just doing this to help my dad. Ryan walked around the desk and handed her a folder. Maybe things are about to change. Inside was an offer letter from his company. A position in marketing. Salary higher than she'd ever dreamed. Why are you doing this? She asked softly. He smiled. Because someone once borrowed my shoes to chase her dream. It's only fair she gets to walk the path she earned. Her tears fell freely this time. I don't know what to say. Say you'll take it, he replied. She nodded, laughing through tears. I'll take it. Months passed. Lila thrived at her new job. She worked tirelessly, her ideas creative and full of heart. Ryan often watched her from a distance, quietly proud, though he'd never admit how deeply her story inspired him. One day, she found a small box on her desk. Inside was a pair of elegant black heels, perfectly her size, with a note that read, "For the woman who proved that success doesn't depend on what you wear, but on how far you're willing to walk." Her eyes welled up as she looked through the glass window at Ryan's office. He smiled and nodded. No words were needed. Years later, at a company awards ceremony, Lila stood on stage again, this time as the youngest director of operations. She began her speech with a trembling voice. Years ago, she said, I was just a girl who asked a stranger if I could borrow his shoes. I didn't know he was a millionaire. I only knew he had kindness in his heart. That moment taught me something life-changing. Kindness doesn't come from wealth. It creates it. The audience rose in applause. Ryan, sitting in the front row, smiled quietly. For him, the story had come full circle. When the lights dimmed, Lila approached him. You changed my life, Ryan. He shook his head. No, he said gently. You changed your own life. I just lent you the shoes. They laughed softly, standing side by side. Two souls who met by chance in the rain, forever bound by a simple act of kindness that became a bridge between worlds. Moral of the story, sometimes, the smallest gestures, offering shoes, a coat, or even a kind word, can change someone's entire path. Kindness costs nothing, but its impact can echo across lifetimes. Would you like me to craft 10 hyper-realistic image prompts for key emotional or suspense moments of this story, with age and looks for consistency, suitable for creating a cinematic YouTube video from this story? Question mark.